The thing that I found hardest to watch was I kept thinking like, oh God, imagine being in that moment and having 2 seconds to craft the perfect response that is like rebuts it, counters it, but also redirects it, but also, you're
There's
not saying anything.
There's a lot of going home afterwards and doing a jerk store call kind of thing.
Right.
I'm Jon Favreau.
I'm Max Fisher.
All right, last week the Financial Times published an incredible piece of offline bait. The article written by the Times' chief data reporter, John Murdoch, was titled, "Have Humans Passed Peak Brain Power?"
That's a great headline.
And noted that research shows that, quote, "The average person's ability to reason and solve novel problems appears to have peaked in the early 2010s and has been declining ever since. And that the share of adults who are unable to use mathematical reasoning to review and evaluate the validity of statements is increasing." He also shares a study that's been asking 18-year-olds since the early 80s whether they have difficulty thinking, concentrating, or learning new things. The share of final year high school students who report difficulties was stable throughout the 1990s and the 2000s, but began a rapid upward climb in the mid-2010s. And guess what? Adults show a similar pattern at the same time.
Yep.
Right when everyone started using iPhones.
I know. I wonder what happened in the early 2010s.
What did you think of that piece?
I mean, this is kind of everything.
I know.
I think it's everything we talk about with social isolation. It's people feeling more cynical. It's distrust of institutions. It's the right-wing political drift. Like, I think something that is really important that this highlighted is not just when we started getting dumber, and like, of course, it's the phones, but it's like incredibly black and white, but where we are getting dumber. The biggest drops were among teens. The biggest drop was in reading skills over other skills. And adults, the drop in literacy was double the drop in facility with numbers. So we are really, it's like, why are we becoming dumber? It's the move into a post-literate society. We are becoming less and less able to read. And I think a lot of that is shattered focus because we're addicted to our phones. And it's also the fact that we are being pulled away from the written word into video.
Right. It's the video thing.
It is the video. And you hear like professors talk about this, that there's students, even the really smart ones, even in great schools, that they can't read a book.
I think this is important too. And the reason I wanted to highlight the adults showing a similar pattern part is this is not enough. I mean, so much of the conversation around phones is some of the criticism of the phones and kids using the phones is like, oh, the old people are yelling at the kids again.
Right.
And every generation has this. And it's not limited.
It's everybody.
To children. Yeah. It's not limited to teens.
Yeah.
It's everyone. And we're focusing on teens because they are at the stage of life where they're most vulnerable, and they're in school, right? And so they're learning.
Right.
But like, no. All the adults are getting dumber too.
Yes.
The phones are doing it to the adults too.
Yeah.
And they all have a problem too. It's all of us.
It's disturbing to see this evidence that you can go from someone who knew how to read and I mean, like, obviously everyone still knows how to read, but someone who had the mental facility to spend a lot of time with the written word, and you can lose that. You can train that out of yourself. I absolutely feel
I'm not throwing any stones here.
We just did this focus challenge where we were forcing ourselves to read for 20 minutes a day, and it was great. It was amazing, but it definitely took me a week or two to get back into it. I used to read a book every couple of weeks, and it's like I have definitely started to lose that skill, but I think it is the most, I agree, it's important to highlight we're not kicking the Zoomers or the teens. The drop among teens, there is this stat they report for U.S. teens, the percentage who hardly ever read in their free time, I should say, has jumped from 15% to almost 50%.
Wow.
And it's going up. There's no reason to think it won't continue to go up. And this is important, not just because it's like reading is nice and it's a good skill to have, but like, you know, we talk all the time about when you don't understand how things work, everything looks like a conspiracy, right? In a way that makes you very like prone to kind of right-wing arguments about tear down the institutions, they're conspiring against you. And when you can't, I feel bad keep saying can't read, but when you like cannot consume information through reading. You consume it through your phone. You consume it through a video. You're not getting the same high quality of information. You're not understanding how things work because you're not able to get that information because it's harder for you to access it. So you don't understand how things work. So it all feels like a conspiracy. It feels scary. And that makes you want to reach out and just smash all these systems that aren't working.
And Yes, the consequences for governance,
Huge.
democracy,
Right.
huge. This is not just about your own mental health. It's not just about your own success in the world, though it is about that. But it is very much like, as you start overlaying this on the voting patterns and election results and the gap between people who pay attention to the news and their politics and who are highly engaged versus the people who are not as engaged in their voting habits, and how it's not left right as much anymore, but this sort of authoritarian populist crank, as Matt Iglesias calls it, a realignment versus like people who are still very engaged, who are more prone to, you know, supporting democracy and self-governance. Like I don't think it's disconnected.
Yeah. And it's both. You need to be able to read and to consume information through reading in order to be a responsibly engaged citizen. And also, if you can't do that, you're going to default to social apps, video-driven social apps that, as we've said many times, are controlled by a small number of companies that have, as we just heard, a vested interest in lying to you and manipulating you and promoting things that are not true in ways that consistently pull people towards the right. And this, just to like really underscore that we're not just beating up on like some other people who are like failing at being like, I feel this myself.
It's not like, oh, dumb people are
right.
voting
The dumb
Republican.
People are right. Yeah.
Like that. This is not what we're saying here.
I feel it myself and like, I'm someone who like obsessively reads the newspaper. There are weeks where I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling focused. So I get more news from my phone, from social media, instead of reading the newspaper, instead of reading a book. And what do you know? I feel confused. I don't understand what's going on. It seems like everybody's incompetent. It seems like there's, you know, the Democrats are deliberately failing. It makes me angry at everyone. It makes me want to kind of like throw all the bums out. And then I get some sleep and then actually read the newspaper again. And then it's like, oh, okay, I understand what's happening here better. I have more of a handle on it. So we are all susceptible to it by degrees.
Offline is brought to you by Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for clean eating, delivering pre-portioned and prepped quality whole foods with limited processed ingredients. Green Chef sends organic, fresh produce, responsibly sourced proteins, and chef-designed recipes in every box for satisfying, nourishing, and convenient meals that make it easy to stick to a clean eating routine. This year, ditch the fads and create healthier eating habits that last with real clean foods. Green Chef makes it easy with recipes curated for a variety of lifestyles and dietary needs. With pre-made sauces and pre-portioned ingredients, there's less prep and less mess, and more time to savor delicious restaurant-quality meals. Stay on track even on your busiest days with salads ready in 5 minutes or less, ready-to-blend smoothies, and grab-and-go protein-packed breakfasts. Green Chef can even help you keep feeling energized and curb cravings with a specially curated hydration bundle. So I've been trying this Green Chef and Mediterranean shrimp bowls. You get some jasmine rice, broccoli, feta, olives, 25 minutes to prepare. I'm not like, I don't do a lot of cooking, but you try Green Chef. It's really easy. Everything, ingredients are all fresh. It tastes delicious. So it's really great. Thrive all year with clean, easy meals from Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/offline-free and use code offline-free to get started with free salads for 2 months plus 50% off your first box. That's greenchef.com/offline-free, code offline-free. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Offline is brought to you by 3-Day Blinds. Talk about how Lovett came up with the idea to have 3-Day blinds installed in your office. That's not what happened.
That's not how it went.
Lovett might have been the one that
fact check false.
That demanded there were 3-day blinds in our office. But
I'm the one who's been blinded by the sunlight in our office.
That's right. It's more of a Tommy thing. And you know what?
Help me. 3-day blinds.
We're pretty excited.
I'm very excited.
We are very excited for the we already have 3-day blinds in other parts of the office. Some reason in our office we didn't have any.
Yeah.
But where we do have them in the office, they look fantastic.
They work great.
And they work really great. There's a better way to buy blinds, shades, shutters, and drapery, and it's called 3-Day Blinds. They are the leading manufacturer of high-quality custom window treatments in the U.S. And right now, if you use our URL, 3dayblinds.com/offline, they're running a buy one, get one 50% off deal. We can shop for almost anything at home. Why not shop for blinds at home too? 3-Day Blinds has local, professionally trained design consultants who have an average of 10 plus years of experience that provide expert guidance on the right blinds for you in the comfort of your home. Just set up an appointment and you'll get a free, no obligation quote the same day. Not very handy? Like me? DIY projects can be fun, but measuring and installing blinds can be a big challenge.
No way. No chance I could install blinds.
Could you
myself.
imagine?
No. You messed that up. No, I need a professional. I need someone from 3 Day Blinds to do this.
There is zero chance I'm installing blinds. The expert team at 3 Day Blinds handles all the heavy lifting. They design, measure, and install so you can sit back, relax, and leave it to the pros. In addition to having 3 Day Blinds at the office, I've had them installed in my home before, and they do a great job. The design consultant comes out. They're great. They tell you what you need. They install them. You don't have to worry about it. Right now, get quality window treatments that fit your budget with 3 Day Blinds. Head to 3dayblinds.com/offline for their buy one, get one 50% off deal on custom blinds, shades, shutters, and drapery. For a free, no charge, no obligation consultation, just head to 3dayblinds.com/offline. One last time, that's buy one, get one 50% off when you head to the number 3, dayblinds.com/offline. Speaking of breaking our brains, let's end with the YouTube video that dominated our feeds this week. Sam Seder, host of the progressive internet radio show and podcast The Majority Report, just starred in a now viral video titled 20 Trump Supporters Take on One Progressive. The video is published by Jubilee, a popular YouTube channel, as part of its Surrounded series, which features one guest debating 10, 15, or 20 other people simultaneously. If you're curious about the logistics of how that works, you can check out the video on Jubilee's YouTube channel.
Logistics. It's a bunch of chairs.
And you know what? You have to see to believe it. But for our purposes today, I want to talk about some of the crazy conversations that poor Sam Seder had to have. And the only way to explain them is with this very representative clip.
DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year. When you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is Black or a person of color.
We're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't. Government agencies.
They don't.
No.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
every private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies operate are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that.
Wow.
Okay, so you and I both watched this.
It's upsetting.
I knew this was our last topic. I was like, I'm going to get some representative clips because it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing, and
it's all like this.
I have to say, it's a banger. I have totally turned around on it.
Really?
I think it's great. I don't think it's great. I think it's fucking horrifying.
Sure. No, I understand.
In the past, I have watched the one conservative debates.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with it is that whoever the person that the 20 people are debating is, that person is almost always more prepared.
Of course.
And better at this than the other people.
Right. That's kind of what you're watching for.
Yeah, that's what you're watching for. So like my views on this have been, shaped by watching Charlie Kirk do it or whoever else they've had do it, right?
Sure.
This is the first one I've watched. I didn't watch the Pete Buttigieg one. I guess Pete's also done this.
Yep.
And been the one person. And Dean Withers, who's been one of the participants at some point. He's been but watching Sam do it, I thought it was valuable because I was like, oh, these people are not very well informed.
Yeah.
Yet very smug about not being very well informed.
Yeah, the smugness
many of them very open about being like this. One woman is like just a white nationalist, basically. Yeah. She's like, what's wrong with xenophobic nationalism? It was literally a quote from her. Yep. And Sam Seder's like, he like, you see him suddenly get it, that's who she is. And he's like, you know what, I'm not going to debate you on this. We just have a fundamental difference here.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought like, and this was I was going to bring a take here that breaks Austin's brain because Austin has been talking a lot about Gavin Newsom's podcast.
I know he's really into Gavin Newsom's podcast.
And my take is Gavin Newsom's podcast should be more like how Sam Seder was debating these people.
I agree with that.
Because this was it was him exposing their ideas for what there are.
Yeah.
And some of them made, I don't want to be too, some of them made some good points here and there. And he took them apart. And I just thought it was more useful than like, hey, how are you? And like, tell me about MAGA.
I agree. What I will say for it is that I appreciated that Sam Seder, seemed to see that the value here was not like an emotionally satisfying moment of like Sam Seder dunks on conservatives and shuts them down, but rather like, let's draw them out and see like what is going on inside the bubble that these people live within. And that is, I think, valuable and important. And I agree. I would love to see Gavin Newsom do that. I do think it's important to see it in context a little bit in the way that people actually hold beliefs and ideas. Because I think there can be something a little bit, maybe misleading is not the right word, but when you kind of draw people out or when you ask them what they believe and then confront them about it, they harden their views in a way that I think is not necessarily representative of the way that people actually hold beliefs. Like, I think this is easy for someone like you or I, or probably a lot of listeners of the show who are very high information, highly engaged in politics, easy for us to miss, is that we have like very discrete, clear views. They all fit together in a belief system. We know where they come from. There's an ideology behind it.
We have a coherent worldview.
We have a coherent worldview.
At least to us.
Right. Maybe, listen,
you might hate it. But
but at least it's an ethos. Most people do not hold views that way. For most people, their views they're much squishier, they're much more softly defined. They might hold multiple contradictory beliefs and might hold multiple contradictory quote unquote facts in their head about the same topic.
And again, no judgment on this necessarily. Some judgment for some people, but I'm not saying coherent like our view is better. I'm just saying it literally coheres together, and most people's do not.
Most people who are lower information, the beliefs are more symbolic. It's not, I literally believe. Now, once this guy was pressed on, do you literally believe that government agencies get tax cuts for, first of all, pay taxes, which is crazy, and then get tax cuts for hiring people of color, he's going to harden that. And that is partly what I think can be like slightly misleading about this format is now it looks like he holds that view very strongly. But I think often when people express views like this, and this is true, people on the right and the left, just people who are like normal, low information, they mean it as kind of like, well, this is how I feel about hiring practices. And this is, I think that government agencies aren't representative enough. And I'm going to kind of express that in something that like doesn't actually make sense if you examine it. And so I don't care if this guy got hardened in his beliefs or not. I do just think that it's worth keeping in mind when you see this, that in this context, they're going to look like very firm, concrete beliefs. But in any other context, they're probably not going to be expressed quite that way.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And it is interesting that some folks on the right thought that like these kids destroyed Sam Seder.
Did they really?
Yeah, like on Twitter, that's like some of the discourse. Most people, I think, have judged it that Sam, sort of wiped the floor with them. But again, I don't even like who won or who didn't win or who got destroyed or who didn't is not actually what I found useful or interesting about
America got destroyed.
America got destroyed. But even like Vulture did an interview with Sam afterwards about it, and he sort of talked about the experience and how he didn't know what he was walking into because they don't tell you who's going to be the people are in advance. He just walked in and just heard it, and so
who knows what the hell they're
some
of it
say. Truly shocked him and disturbed him, and some of it he was like prepared for because he wrote. You write your own prompts, right? Like it was like prompt number 1. I think that Trump's policies hurt the working class and help the rich, right? Whatever. That's the prompt, and then they argue about that. So he got to control that. He did say. Like when he was talking with the woman who said, what's wrong with xenophobic nationalism? He's like, and some views are so out there that I was like, I would just rather, I think that most of the country agrees with me and not her. So I'm not going to go into them. Right. My only thought about that was, not that I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment, but I was like, I actually think that we are, and this is one of the reasons why I liked the video and liked the whole exercise, is we are in a moment now where, I think you do have to make the case for multiracial democracy.
I agree 100%.
And I think when we've had this whole debate about we can't make the election about democracy because people care about, the cost of living and stuff like that. I think one of the problems there is that debate was us saying democracy's obviously good and trying to convince people that the other side hates democracy.
Yep.
And we actually have to make the case for why democracy is good. And that could work better because it's not using the word democracy. Right. But we have to make a case for the system. We have to make a case for a multiracial country. Right. We have to make the case for all of these things because we think that they're basic. They're not. But like from that 20 Trump supporters who were younger, diverse, diverse in terms of gender identity, sexual orientation, race, gender. Like, I do think that Democrats or folks on the left or whoever you want to call us, like we have to get back to basics and trying to make the case for our worldview, even the parts of our worldview that we assume most people agree with, and maybe most people do agree with, but clearly we are seeing a younger generation now, and you can see this again in the voting data. Gen Z has took a hard swing to the right. And maybe that's a one-time thing. But I wouldn't bet on it. And it's mostly men, Gen Z men. And I don't think that it is, at least from these conversations, it's not just cultural. It's not just like the bros and we got to go on the bro shows and all that kind of shit. Like there are worldviews that these folks and other young people were espousing that are the MAGA cohesive worldview that I think we have to challenge. I agree. And we have to challenge like the fundamentals of it, right? Like why xenophobic nationalism is bad. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. They say money can't buy you happiness. That might be true, but money sure can make you feel a lot of other things like stressed, guilty, overwhelmed. That's because when you're not in control of your money can control you, Tommy.
If you get too much money, you have a mental breakdown in front of the entire country in the Oval Office, take too much, allegedly, of a certain banned substance, and then start slashing government agencies.
And suddenly, you're selling cars in the driveway, in the White House driveway.
In the South Lawn.
Acorns is a financial wellness app that helps you take control of your money with simple tools that make it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. You can create your Acorns account and start investing in just 5 minutes. Financial wellness doesn't have to feel impossible. Acorns gives you small, simple steps to get you and your money on track. Basically, Acorns does the hard part so you can give your money a chance to grow. Ready to take control of your money? Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who've already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/offline or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/offline. Offline is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Do you like keeping your money where you can see it? Unfortunately, traditional big wireless carriers seem to like keeping your money too. If you're fed up with crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks that actually cost more in the long run, it might be time to switch to Mint Mobile. We have a few Crooked staffers who ditched their plans with the big wireless carriers and switched to Mint Mobile. One of them said they saved close to $40 per month after making the switch. Say bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/offline. That's mintmobile.com/offline. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
I have been saying since 2016 that I think that we have had a cultural narrative for a long time, not just the United States, but like broadly in democracies, that we kind of won the argument on liberal democracy, on racial and cultural pluralism in the 1960s, and that it's over, and that we all agree that, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. was right, and that racism is bad, and that both democracy itself, like voting freely and who your leaders are going to be, and then liberal democracy, more broadly defined as in equal rights for everyone, is just like the status quo and the default, and it's all the thing we want. And I think that that was never true. I think that from the beginning in the 60s, which is when we first instituted like real full liberal democracy, there has always been a movement that says this is wrong, this is not what we want, but there has not been a channel for it. What has changed is that now, because of the way that primaries work, that they're open now, that political parties are collapsing and their institutional authority, the way that media is now democratizing, there's now much more space for people to come together and find each other and say, wait a minute, we actually agree that we never liked this, that we never wanted liberal democracy, we never wanted pluralism, and we've got this competing vision that has been on the margins, or at least has felt like it's on the margins for so long, that we all just wrote it off as they're the bad guys, they're the baddies. And you say, well, you compare them to Nazis, and we all agree that Nazis were the bad guys in World War II, so of course we never want to be them. I don't know, Elon Musk did a Nazi salute. Well, it's all out there now.
But also, I think one of the challenges is everyone knows Nazis are bad.
No, I agree.
Right? But then Elon,
right.
And you've heard some other people say this too now. They were like, who's the one trying to be like, the Nazis are bad, but the Nazis were actually communists.
That's oh yeah, no, the Nazis are left-wing.
Nazis are actually leftists, right?
Yeah, so for a long time, that's been Jon Colbert.
We think that just because everyone agrees that the Nazis are bad, that we agree that fascism is bad.
Exactly.
But this movement now is saying, okay, they're trying to rewrite the past also. So because no one in this movement is openly running around being like, yes, I hate everyone and I'm evil and evil's good. Right. Like they are thinking of themselves as the good ones.
Right. I just want to save our culture.
Yep. And we have to engage with those ideas and refute them as opposed to just assuming that everyone agrees with them.
Right. And they see themselves as standing up for democracy because, and this is actually articulated well by the xenophobic white nationalist woman, where her belief is that quote unquote we, which of course is very loosely defined, but also clearly defined, we are the majority. So we get to be in charge and we get to set what the culture is in her mind. And in the view of what you and I would call, right-wing ethno-nationalism or right-wing authoritarianism, that is actually saving democracy, which is actually something that Stephen Levitsky gets really well, is that the big movement against liberal democracy as we understand it comes from people who see themselves as saving it.
Yep. And you hear her too. It's more like, well, we have just a European identity.
Yes,
that's the tradition of this country, and I don't have a problem with the other people, but like they should have their country and we should have ours, and everyone should be able to do their own thing. And you're just like, oh fuck,
that's always
this is where we're going.
Would you ever do one of these Jubilee things? Because I mean, you've done focus groups, but you don't. I assume you're not usually arguing with the people in focus groups.
Sam was excellent, and I think Sam has made fun of us a lot on his show.
Was he really?
Plains of America. That's what I've heard. Okay. But I don't care. Okay. Honestly, he's really effective.
Yeah, he's very good.
I'd rather. I don't. You don't need to be nice to me. But as I was listening to him, like that, it's really hard to be the person.
Yes.
And so you have to do a lot of prep. You have to know a lot of shit, and like to be on your game like that with whoever you get and whatever crazy thing they say. And some people said some crazy things to him that I think he probably wasn't expecting. Right. You could tell that a lot of arguments he was expecting because
of course.
They're normal political arguments, and some things were completely off the fucking wall, like the tax cuts for the government agencies, the DEI. So you have to be prepared for that. Right. So I don't know. Like I would need like a couple weeks to not come to work
easily. Yeah.
and just prepare.
That was the beyond how distressing it was to see these views held by my fellow citizens. The thing that I found hardest to watch was I kept thinking like, oh God, imagine being in that moment and having 2 seconds to craft the perfect response that is like rebuts it, counters it, but also redirects it, but also, you're not saying anything.
There's a lot of going home afterwards and doing a jerk store call kind of thing. Right. How's that for a 90s Seinfeld reference?
I love it.
All right. So that's our show for today, Max. We'll see y'all back here next week.